My name is Sarah Myers, Ismi Sara, and I am the new Executive Director of Healing to Hope. I am an artist, activist, and educator, joining everyone here from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Minnesota Makoche, the home of the Dakota people, where the Anishinaabe people have also long resided. I am a longtime collaborator of Rami Khader, who is also on the board of directors at Healing to Hope, in addition to his role of executive director and founder of ANAR. And I am so honored to share time with you all today. Rami, would you like to introduce yourself briefly before we move on?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rami Khader. I'm the Executive Director of ANAR. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks, Rami. And also, we have a special guest joining us today, a little bit later in our gathering, Reverend Dr. Munter Isaac, the president of ANAR's Board of Trustees and pastor at the Evangelical Lutheran Christmas Church in Bethlehem and the Lutheran Church in Beit Zahor, as well as academic dean of Bethlehem Bible College and director of the Christ at the Checkpoint conferences. Welcome, Reverend Isaac. We'll come to you later on. So again, feel free to share in the chat if you would like to, if you're comfortable, where you're joining us from, what brought you here today. That is a way for us to feel your presence as we move through our work together. So the purpose of our event, as folks know, is that we are here to mark the launch of Healing to Hope, a US-based volunteer-driven charitable organization dedicated to increasing awareness and understanding of ANAR. We hope that you will learn how Healing to Hope shares ANAR's vision, and that vision is to promote the mental and emotional healing of Palestinian children and their caregivers through psychosocial support and arts-based programming. We also hope to give you concrete ways to support ANAR through Healing to Hope going forward. After this welcoming, I'm going to give you a little bit more background and context for Healing to Hope. Then I will hand things over to Rami and to Pastor Munter to talk about ANAR. We'll have short time for a Q&A and make sure that you walk away with concrete ways to support the work going forward. So first of all, I want to say I've been doing I'm moving back and forth between the role of helping us move forward and also being in this role of executive director. But the first of all is me saying I am honored to be here in this particular role as the new executive director of Healing to Hope. I couldn't be more honored to support the vital work that ANAR is doing in Palestine. I want to thank Rami Khader, first and foremost, the ANAR founder and executive director, as well as I mentioned, Healing to Hope board member, the amazing Healing to Hope board members beyond Rami, and the volunteers who've brought us here to this day, and then the incredible ANAR staff and community. I want to give a special shout out to Dara Rafidi, who yesterday, when I was trying to pull some images together, just sent them to me almost immediately after doing incredible work just herself all day long, every day facilitating. And then to all of you, thank you for supporting us by spreading the word, by attending events like these, by donating to support the work and offering the time, energy, and resources that you have. Many of you here today are already familiar with ANAR's work. And for those who know ANAR, and for those joining us for the first time, Rami will be going into much more detail about that momentarily and about the larger context in Palestine right now. I will talk more, as I mentioned, about our relationship and give you a little background on how we started. So I think the best way to think about this is that ANAR means to light up in Arabic. So ANAR lights up the lives of children experiencing trauma through programs and interventions that prioritize their mental health and emotional well-being. And as we know, the need could not be greater at this moment for that. Healing to Hope, then, thinking about the metaphor of lighting up, draws inspiration from that light to illuminate ANAR's work with children and caregivers. So our aim is to increase our network of US supporters and supporters around the globe committed to meaningful arts-focused, community-based, Palestinian-led healing work. So we do that in Healing to Hope through events like these, through in-person presentations, one-on-one meetings, group gatherings, as well as publishing accounts of ANAR's work, and of course, meaningful fundraising to support the healing of Palestinian children and caregivers through ANAR's programs. We have already begun to establish community hubs in regions and states across the US with a network of volunteers to execute awareness building and fundraising events. So I'm here in Minnesota. We have other folks working in the Bay Area and in Atlanta and beyond. In the future, our hope is to organize site visits to the West Bank to witness and support ANAR's work and offer further volunteer support if we can. So our goal is both to expand the network of folks who know about ANAR and support the work on the ground as best we can from where we are at. To give you a little bit of context here about how ANAR started, sorry, not ANAR, how Healing to Hope started. Rami and I met almost 7 years ago at this point, when I can't believe it's been that long, when I was on faculty at Augsburg University and he was working at Dar al-Khalima University and DR Theater. And we quickly recognized our shared passions, vision, and values. I had the privilege myself of working with actors from DR Theater. I was in the midst of co-teaching a short-term course with Palestinian faculty focused on the art of Palestinian resistance. And we then, after that period in time, went on to other endeavors, Rami and I, but remained professional collaborators and contacts. This is not just about our connection. This is about a whole huge network of amazing people who got involved. I'm just giving you context so you understand where we were coming from for this work. Before the initiation of ANAR, I remember talking with Rami about the need for a community-based, arts-focused mental health organization in Palestine. At that point, we weren't even thinking about Healing to Hope. The focus was on ANAR and the creation of ANAR, and I was involved in the sense that I wanted to be able to support that work as best I could and to spread the word about it as an artist and educator. And then in 2022, we started talking more seriously about ANAR, and the need emerged for gathering more artists, friends, and activists dedicated to the work. ANAR itself launched in the summer of 2023. And after October 7th, the need for its work became absolutely crucial, as we know. We started a GoFundMe campaign to support ANAR's mobile clinic throughout the West Bank. And then we started talking more seriously about what expanding the network and our base of support in the US could look like. So at this point, we're working with a larger number of board members and volunteers. Healing to Hope came out of this mobilization. So the board members who are currently involved in Healing to Hope today are the people who are initially working to support ANAR in the first year of the mobile clinic. And Rami himself serves as a board member of Healing to Hope. So all of this is very organic and grassroots, came out of trying to address the need itself on the ground and ways that we can increase our network going forward. So before I hand things over to Rami, I want to make sure that people know ways to get involved going forward with this new stage of our process. So we have the Healing to Hope website, which is brand new. That is, the sister website of Healing to Hope, and that's www.healingtohope.org. There's a donate page on our site at the end, and that is a huge priority for us right now as we're finishing up our fiscal year. We are trying to raise funds for the cost of a vehicle to support the mobile clinic. Rami will tell you more about why and why urgently that vehicle is needed right now to support ANAR's work. We will also be doing general program support for ANAR going forward. There are many ways that you can donate to the work. One is to send physical checks to the address that you see on that page. Another is to donate through PayPal. We have a link to that button on the website. For folks who have donated previously, you know that there's a GoFundMe campaign going on that ANAR has right now. Those funds will all of this goes to support ANAR's work on the ground, period. The difference between the two, I'll just explain briefly because people asked many questions about it. One is that the Healing to Hope right now, we are officially registered in the US through the state of Minnesota with bylaws that establish us as a charitable organization. We have submitted a form to the IRS and we are waiting for official approval to become an official US-based nonprofit. While we're in this middle stage, you can make donations to Healing to Hope, and those will all go to ANAR, but they are not yet tax deductible. However, they will be tax deductible retroactively once we get our approval paperwork. So that makes it different from the GoFundMe, which is very separate and is not about tax deductible donations. I am talking about this right now because many people are very concerned in the US about where our tax dollars are going. And it's important that we think about the best ways we can support ANAR going forward from where we are. And I know we have people joining us here outside of the US too, but since Healing to Hope is a US-based organization, I wanted to emphasize that. Other ways to get involved, we have a contact page on the Healing to Hope website that you can fill out if you want to learn more. And then at the bottom of every page of our website, there is a way for you to enter your contact information in order to get on our email list. And you are always welcome to email info@healingtohope.org. So that was a lot of logistical information early in the meeting, but we know sometimes people have to leave early and wanted to make sure that you understand how you can support ANAR through Healing to Hope going forward. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand things over to Rami to talk much more substantively about the work itself, about where we are right now in this moment. And thanks so much, everyone, for your patience with technical things. Oh, I'm actually not going to hand things over to Rami because I wasn't looking at my outline. I'm actually going to invite Pastor Munther to share a few words with us here today because he is our special guest, and then we'll hand things over to Rami. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay, of course. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sara, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Directors of ANAR, I greet you all. Thank you for joining this event. The first event of for Healing to Hope, which we're so grateful for the opportunity to support the important work of ANAR. So I thank every one of you for joining. I know we don't take this for granted. I'm going to leave the real talk about ANAR for Rami and his team, but just want to give a small, that it's amazing to me that in the midst of the most difficult circumstances, when we look back years from now, and I hope to an organization that would have made a great impact in the life of Palestinians, we will remember that it came to life in the midst of a war of genocide. In the most difficult circumstances, we will look back and not just remember the hardships, the trauma, the pain that we all are going through, and it's nothing compared to what's happening in Gaza. But we will also remember that this is when ANAR came to life. And with all the focus on Gaza, and rightly so, right now the situation in the West Bank is also not livable. Since October 7th, but even before that, so much restrictions, so many checkpoints. They are really doing their best to push us out. To the extent that, we're seeing family after family leave, we're seeing a situation of despair. And it's one thing to try to survive and live here, let alone to do any kind of work to help others, when you realize you yourself need someone to continue to support you. And I mean this not just in the spiritual, psychological sense, but even on the practical sense. Just 2 days ago, Rami and Dara were detained for almost 2 hours at the checkpoint, going from Bethlehem to Hebron. The Israeli soldiers took their mobiles, their car keys, for almost 2 hours. And I just can't imagine, the kind of thinking that went through their minds, because everything could happen at the checkpoint in the West Bank. The worst case scenario could happen. And I imagine, thinking about their families, their loved ones. Thankfully, they let them go. And this is the kind of environment, not just we live in, but we're trying to help others with. And, we are determined, stubborn people. I'm sure, Rami and Dara will be on the road again, going to help people, help others in places that so desperately need it. So I can't be more proud of this work we are doing in the most difficult circumstances. And the second thing I want to say is that I really hope that those who join this work and who partner with us through Healing to Hope, is that you realize that in a time when Palestine is being discussed, or rarely being discussed, but if it is being discussed, it's about politics, it's about politicians, what they say, it's about solutions, it's about, mischaracterization and demonizing and so on. And I hope that you remember that behind all of this is real stories of children, women, and men whose dreams are being killed, who are traumatized, surrounded by pain and despair, yet struggling to survive. And that those people have names, they have faces, they have stories. And part of the work of Anar is to help them, live their lives, tell those stories, beginning from stories of healing. And then I hope dreams realize. And so in a sense, Healing to Hope is not just helping us help those children and engage in the process of healing and assisting them, but it's also about humanizing Palestinians in a time when the media, even by partisan politics in the United States, and sadly, let me be honest, sometimes the church has engaged in years of systematic dehumanization of Palestinians. And the work of Anar is about the dignity and livelihood of those Palestinians, especially the Palestinian children. And so the story of Anar and that of those they help to stand on their feet are really stories of amazing people and amazing resilience. We Palestinians love life. We actually say we teach life, and we deserve to live life in dignity and peace in our homeland. So on behalf of, as I said, the board of directors, I wish to extend again my gratitude for the team of Healing to Hope, led by Dr. Sara, and everyone behind this important initiative, for all of you for joining. And on behalf of all of us, we say thank you for standing with us as we try to do this really important and difficult work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Mathur. And I have to say it was an honor to meet you in person when you were here in the States and witness your incredible work. And it's just an honor to work with you. So I'll hand things over to Rami to go into much more depth now.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Pastor Munder, for your words. Dear friends, colleagues, and partners, it's truly wonderful to see all of you here today to kick off the journey of our sister organization, Healing to Hope. First, I want to take a moment to recognize the dedication of our founding committee, which later became Healing to Hope Board of Directors, and our executive director, Sarah Myers, for turning this dream into reality. Thank you so much. I also want to take the time to thank Anar's board of directors and Anar staff who are present with us today. So Dara, Shadin, Selena, Sahar, and Gianna, thank you for your hard work. I know it is really hard work and challenging at the moment. So thank you for that. This is a day filled with meaning, and we wouldn't be here without the hard work of so many. Between Healing to Hope and Anar, today is more than just an event. It's a day that's filled with hope, thanks to the hard work that made this a reality. As of today, after 388 days of genocide and ethnic cleansing, the statistics are staggering. According to OCHA, over 42,000 Gazans have been murdered, and almost 100,000 have been injured in Gaza alone. About 1.9 million people have been forced to flee within Gaza, and not to flee once, but twice, and it could count up to 10 times displacement. In the West Bank, the situation isn't easy as well. Over 730 people killed from October 7 until now, with 150 children among them. According to Defense for Children International, as of September 2024, 242 Palestinian children between the ages of 12 up to 17 years old are held in Israeli military detention centers at the moment. Every day, we witness further land confiscations, more checkpoints, more blockades, day and night Israeli military raids that became part of our daily life. The situation on the ground is indeed dire, and it is urgent that action is taken, starting by a ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon, but also full enforcement of international law against Israel and related to the rights of the Palestinian people and freedom. It's a genocide world leaders cannot continue to purposely ignore. It's a situation no child, no family, no community should ever have to face. The need for action is clear. We need an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Lebanon, and we need leaders who will uphold international law. This cannot be ignored anymore. You know, I started my part talking about hope, but talking about hope, I find myself really struggling with the word. We all love and appreciate. Hope is hard to come by these days, as each day seems to bring more oppression, more injustice than the last. But even so, I want to share with you where we at Anar find our hope and how we work to keep that hope alive for the communities we serve. I want to speak not only about the challenges, but also about how we are striving to bring healing amid such turmoil. When we founded Anar last summer, our mission was very clear, was to support Palestinian children and their families by responding to their mental health and psychosocial needs in a way that respects their dignity and their strength. We chose the name Anar because it means to light up. That's our purpose, to be a light, even if it is a small one, for every child, each parent, and each community facing oppression and injustice. Our community-based psychosocial support program, which we call Community Self-Help Hubs, is where this mission comes to life. Through this program, we train youth, volunteers, and community leaders to recognize and address the mental health needs among them and around them. Together, they learn to identify where support is needed to create safe, healing spaces in their own communities. In this way, we're not just supporting individuals, we are building a community of people who can lift each other up, because the need at the moment is way bigger than all organizations in Palestine combined. Through this network, we offer group counseling for children and caregivers who have faced violence and oppression directly. It isn't easy work, but it's vital to create spaces where individuals and families can come together to heal, and through that process, help heal their community as well. Our second program is called Shababik, which is translated to windows in English. Equips young youth with skills and knowledge so they can respond to mental health needs around them, in their schools, in community centers, and even in their own homes. This way, healing doesn't just stay with our organization, but spreads throughout communities and partners across Palestine. The third program is called Makan, which translates to space, our space, a program that is very close to my heart. Here, children gather to experience the beauty of creativity, art, theater, movement, whatsoever. Makan has become a place where children feel safe enough to play, to laugh, to be children again, even if only for a while. Together, they learn how to create art and stories, share their emotions, and finding comfort in each other. This program is about helping children hold onto their sense of wonder, even in the face of hardship that's hard to imagine. The main question here, in the search of the word hope, what does all of this look like on the ground? Let me share with you stories of our team and some of the children and caregivers we worked with, and I hope that's where we find hope. Our team faces the constant challenge of moving from one city to another, from one village to the next, and from a refugee camp to another. Many days, the official roads are blocked by gates and checkpoints, and we can't reach our destination by public transportation. Just today, actually, our colleague Sahar, who lives in Arub camp, was going to Beit Ummar village, and while she's entering the village, the soldiers invaded the village, and it wasn't safe for her, so she went back. So every day could be a surprise for us. But our staff doesn't stop. When roads close, they walk for hours to get to the communities that rely on us. They are stopped, questioned at checkpoints, denied entry, harassed by soldiers and settlers. The work environment is far from easy and convenient. Recently, my colleague Dara and I experienced this firsthand. As we traveled from Bethlehem to Hebron, we were stopped at a checkpoint, ordered out of the car, and directed to stand by a fence. They took our car keys and phones and held us there, waiting for almost 2 hours on the side of the road, uncertain of what might happen next. It was terrifying, I have to admit, and our minds were dark places. I mean, during these 2 hours, God knows what kind of things we thought about. But this is not where our story ends. This isn't the part that defines our journey. What matters is what came after. We took back our keys, stepped back into the car, and continued to Hebron. There, we met with 2 incredible local partners, people committed to the same goals as we are, and we celebrated the achievement of our work together, just like nothing has happened 2 hours before. Yes, the experience was frightening, but our resilience carried us forward, allowing us to step past fear and keep moving. And that's the spirit of our work. We do not let these moments define us or derail us, because we know that beyond those checkpoints and barriers, people are waiting for us, ready to build and celebrate resilience alongside us. Going back to children we serve, many arrive unable to express the fear and confusion they carry with them on a daily basis. Some are silent, withdrawn, others are angry, restless, pretending that everything is normal. It's a heavy weight for each young child to carry on their shoulders. But after just a few sessions with us, we see the walls begin to come down. They start to share their thoughts, their feels, and then little by little, they begin to heal. But most importantly, together. It's not only the children who bear the weight. Parents try to stay strong to protect their children from the fear of and uncertainty they themselves feel. But deep down, many are haunted by the question, what kind of future will my child have here? For some, this question has become so painful that they feel they have no choice but to leave. And yet, amid all this, we witness an incredible resilience. Caregivers, children, youth, social workers, community leaders, they're not given up. They are determined to support their communities, to learn new skills, to create safe spaces, and to heal. It's in this quiet, persistent resilience that I see the true meaning of hope. For us, hope isn't about turning a blind eye to suffering. It's about facing it together and finding strength in our shared humanity. Our healing is collective, just as our struggles are. By learning, sharing, and supporting one another, we create a hope that isn't just an ideal, it's a practical, resilient force in our life. This isn't a hope that just waits passively, it's hope that takes action, finding ways forward no matter how difficult the path. So, as we gather here today, I want to leave you with this. Hope isn't always loud or visible in Palestine, especially during a genocide. Yet, it's found in small acts of kindness, in moments of solidarity, and in spaces where people come together to heal. Together, we are painting a picture of hope, one brushstroke at a time, within a world too often marked by war, injustice, and oppression. Each of you here today is part of that picture, part of that hope. Thank you for being here, for standing with us, and for advocating with us to find that light and finding freedom. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rami, for those gorgeous words. You are always an inspiration and have been to me for many years, and everyone who works with an R. I think we are going to open things up for Q&A right now. And I understand that there may be some issues with the chat and not some people are able to post in the chat and some people aren't, and I'm very sorry about that. So if you do have any questions or need anything clarified later, or you want to share anything, please don't hesitate to reach out by email at info@healingtohope.org, and I will share everything with Rami and everyone else. The way that we're going to field questions will be through the Q&A, and the way that the Q&A works is that I have a beautiful member of the board who is fielding questions. If you post them, I'm just going to explain how it works. We will try to prioritize questions that seem to be coming up more often. If we don't get to your question, again, please feel free to reach out and share it later by emailing info@healingtohope.org. Once you write a question in the Q&A, it will say your question will be published when it's approved by that, excuse me, by the administrator. That may or may not happen because of time and the number of people and where we're focusing our energy. But again, if we're not able to answer your question today, we'll try to address it later. So that said, we will open things up to questions if you have them, and give people a moment or anything that you would like to share today. We do see some comments coming in the chat too. While we're waiting for the questions to come in, and again, please try to use the Q&A. It's at the top of your screen right next to the chat, or it should be. If it's not working with you, for some reason, it should be, but we'll try to track things in the chat and come back to them too. But I'm just going to review for people ways that you can support the work. Again, Healing to Hope, all of our energy is geared towards supporting the work of ANAR. So when you think about all that the ANAR staff is doing every single day, we want to be able to take some of that burden of supporting and spreading the word and fundraising to a place where we shoulder some of that energy. And it's an entirely different way to focus than it is actually working with communities every single day in the ways that Rami and Dara and all the rest of the staff are. They're doing that work as well. It's part of their nonprofit organization in Palestine, but we are sister organizations with a shared vision. And our work is designed to make sure we are spreading the word to as many people as possible. So I see a couple of questions are coming in now. So first question here, I'm looking at two different devices at once. Is Doctors Without Borders greatly involved in Gaza and the West Bank? Rami, your mic is off if you want to.
Yes, they are.
What are the relief agencies now that UNRWA has been banned? I don't know that you can speak to all of the relief agencies, Rami, but there are many organizations doing work.
Yeah, I mean, there are many organizations who are trying to provide relief services and protection services in the West Bank and Gaza at the moment because the need is higher than ever. But what we really need to see that the ban on UNRWA is very dangerous, and it's a precedent that could be taken to other levels as well. So I hope really the international community and leaders will stop this madness, because it's not only that they are banning UNRWA. The attack is against the refugee question, and that is very tricky and very dangerous at the moment.
Rami, someone is asking if they're saying, I know that there are about 200 children imprisoned. Are you allowed to visit the children? I'm not, if you can speak to that situation.
Sure. We if in our previous webinar, we have detailed the process of child detention, but no, you are not allowed to see or visit the children. Usually, a lawyer is allowed to see the children, but that is not directly after the imprisonment. It could be after months of the imprisonment of the child. The situation of the children who are in custody is very hard to swallow, and the kind of trauma that they deal with during imprisonment, but after imprisonment as well, with PTSD mainly and other symptoms, it's very hard to deal with, and it has been one of the most difficult cases to deal with for us. But luckily, we just signed a new agreement with Save the Children to start in January with supporting children who has been in custody, but also support their caregivers as well. Because when you imprison a child, you do not only imprison the child, but you imprison a whole home, the family, and the whole community as well.
So thank you, Rami, for that. I want to remind folks to please try to use the Q&A as much as possible. Someone was sharing in the chat that they think the number of children in prison has exceeded 700. I was wondering about those numbers myself. Yeah. But to encourage people to please use the Q&A. It may not be working for everyone, but if it is working for you, that just allows us to track things a little bit better. A question has come up. Can you share more about your hopes for how this incredible work might be able to grow and evolve in the future?
Sure. Before answering the question, I want to stop on what Dr. Muhammad Awad, our board member, also elaborated on in the chat, that the number of children I mentioned is only the children that has been taken this year, since October 7th until now. But the total number of children who are in prison is between 700 and 850 children at the moment. Each year, they detain about 1,020 children that they between 1 month to maximum, not maximum, but between 1 month and 6 months as well. Going back to how we plan to grow, we are heavily involved in the southern part of the West Bank as well now. We are also moving to the middle and northern part of the West Bank, hoping in January to cover the need in that area as well. We really hope to move to Gaza as well, but we believe that moment is not possible for us now as a young organization. But hopefully, after the genocide ends, we will be definitely moving to Gaza to support children and families there as well. Our programs are focused on community-based approach. So most of our work is really going to communities, empowering them, giving them all the tools to support the healing process of children and caregivers themselves. So we hope to continue doing so. The challenge of growth isn't only about projects, it's also about restrictions of movements. So two things that we are trying to invest in. One, strengthening community leaders so they can provide the healing themselves in their communities. And second is get a van to support our team to move from one to place easily, because public transportation and moving that way has been extremely difficult and sometimes dangerous. Hoping by doing so, we will be able to cover the whole West Bank by mid 2025.
And so you started addressing some of this, Rame, this question. Sorry, I'm just trying to field a couple additional questions. How many locations are you working in right now? I don't know if you spoke to that exact number.
Sure.
And where are they? And are you working with any schools right now?
Sure. We serve different geographical locations through different projects. As I mentioned, heavily in the southern part of the West Bank, but also we serve different locations in the middle and the northern part of the West Bank. We are hoping to be serving the whole West Bank, as I said, in mid 2025. But when we work, we serve cities, villages, refugee camps, schools, Bedouin communities, so in different scopes and different geographical areas as well.
Great. And I have a couple questions here, Rami, about just donations from people that I'll field quickly here. One is Healing to Hope able to accept donations from donor-directed funds? Once we get our 501c3 status, we will be able to do that. If you have questions about that right now, in the meantime, when we're in this situation right now where we're waiting for our paperwork, please email me at info@healingtohope.org. I would be happy to talk to you about that and figure out a way to make that possible going forward. And is it more helpful, someone wants to know, to Anar and Healing to Hope to have one lump sum donation or smaller continuing donations? For the remainder of this year, I don't know that I have an answer to that. Rami, you may have an answer to that, but I just want to say our goal for this year is to raise enough funds to be equivalent to the cost of a vehicle to support the Anar team in all of their work. That's just short of $50,000 USD. And if you can help us get to that goal, we would be tremendously appreciative. In the future, after this fiscal year, I feel like, do you have thoughts about that, Rami? Lump sum versus ongoing donations?
I would say ongoing donations and ongoing relationships.
That's right. Yeah. The donations are essential for the work and the relationship building and the spreading the word about the work and making sure that we are increasing our network is just as important as anything else. We are just about at time here, and I know there are a bunch of questions that we didn't get to answer. Should we maybe ask one more question or a couple as we're closing out, Rami?
Sure.
Okay. Someone is wondering how children are chosen to participate in the programs and how that works.
Sure. We choose, we don't choose children. We actually work with community-based organizations, schools, community centers who know the children in the communities, who know the families who are struggling of political violence or any other sort of violence. And that's how we get our children. They get referred to us by their schools, the community centers, the CBOs, the community-based organizations in the different communities, by village councils, so basically by our partners, because they know the people, they know the children who are struggling the most, and that's how we reach to communities. It's not us directly, but through our partnerships with different organizations, as I mentioned. We also use, especially when we work with youth and caregivers, we use social media as well, because people use social media to get to know about opportunities here. And I'll mention one recent registration. We were announcing a project for community self-help members from Bethlehem and Hebron governorates, hoping that we need part of the project to train 40 community leaders on how to self-help themselves and their communities through a one-year training and initiatives in their own communities. Just announcing it on social media, we received 219 applications, and unfortunately that we couldn't take all, but we had to choose 40 of them who are able to support our work as well. But the need, as I said, is huge, and what we are building here at ANAR is that we are part of the community. So our social workers, our staff members are part of the community. They know the community. They are acknowledged in their communities as well. And that's also how people are coming to us for support.
Thank you so much, Rami. So we're at time here, a little bit over. We're going to leave you with the different links again in the chat. We'll also send a follow-up message to folks who are here, and you'll be able to get answers to, I'm going to try with Rami to address some of these questions that we didn't get a chance to answer today. And as well as make sure that you have all the information about donation and spreading the word and being part of our ongoing building network. So thank you, Rami. Thank you, Pastor Munther. Thank you to everyone who's joined us. Thank you to the board and staff of ANAR. Thank you to the board of Healing to Hope. Thank you to all of these participants. We're so grateful for your support and energy and your commitment to healing and hope and all of what ANAR is doing to make that possible.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Rami.
Thank you all.